lovely top that was bought for you at Christmas and the first chance to give it an outing. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we were going to start with Chelsea, but talkSPORT earlier in the day, and I know this is going to be a recurring theme as you build up to the Euros. talkSPORT was first to break the news that Declan Rice, England's best player in some of the recent internationals, certainly the one against Poland, is out injured. He misses tonight's game against West Ham. We'll hear the team news for that. For West Ham against Wolves, we'll hear that team news very, very soon. But he's also, we don't know, because it's one of those things where it's a knee and you can't tell. This is a blow for West Ham, Shaun, but we're going to have a lot of this, particularly with people like Declan Rice, who seems to be absolutely one of the few names absolutely nailed on for the England team in the upcoming Euros.
I think it's very concerning, actually. It's one of those where you initially hear it's a month and you think, well, OK, he doesn't need an operation, fine, so a month, well, that's all right, April, May, you get back for May, good. But then you always fear somebody says, oh, he's had a little setback. You'll see his story, he's had a little setback. And then manager will say, he's not quite ready. And then you start, if it runs on another couple of weeks after that, then you start to get a bit concerned. I mean, he's vital to England. Henry will tell you the same, I'm sure, that not just is he the holding midfield player, he's a man who starts all the attacks. He just doesn't break things up. He's creator. He's probably, after Kane, the most important player in the team, I would say, and we need him.
I couldn't agree more, particularly on the evidence of the three recent internationals. Henry, I know that you watched those with great interest, no doubt distanced. You probably weren't. You may have been at Wembley. I don't know. Were you at Wembley for the Poland game?
Yep, for both of them.
Okay. Well, you can then give us an eyewitness view of just how important Rice is to the England team. I'm not saying the lad, I hope sincerely, because he's such a good footballer, that he's not out for any really significant length of time, but he is now. He's become so critical, as Shaun was saying, to England's chances.
I think there's 7 players that are pretty much guaranteed to start in the team. From Southgate's perspective, Pickford, definitely, Maguire, Stones at the back, Rice, as you say, in midfield, Mount, Kane and Sterling. And I think if we'd been looking at him when he came into the squad and the team a couple of years ago, would he sort of develop like this? I think it's been fantastic credit to him, to his to David Moyes, to Southgate, but particularly if you've met Declan Rice, and I've done a couple of interviews with him this season. I mean, he's such a upbeat character. I mean, look, touch wood, he'll be fit. He's such a determined character. He'll have the best medical people around him. So let's not even speculate on him being out of the tournament. I know, Shaun, you will. I'm sure your back page is tomorrow is full of misery. But look, let us touch wood. Say
why would he say that to a great bloke like you, Shaun?
Oh, goodness
but he's so important.
I mean, there's another reason we like Declan Rice to be in. He's an excellent interview, and he's not bland, quotes wise, and all of that. I mean, it's a side issue, I accept, but he is really, really great copy.
More than being great copy, I think he's a really good leader. And I think even at that age, what is he, 21, 22, he is so popular with all the other players. You can see his relationship, obviously, with Mason Mount, who he's known since they were 6, 7, starting out together at Chelsea. Declan then moved on to West Ham and has done fantastically there. And he's popular with all the players. I think he just strengthens that midfield. And obviously, we're debating over Jordan Henderson, who it is expected will be back in time from his groin surgery. But England if you look at the England team, that central area is so important. And his understanding with Mason Mount, and we saw it again with his understanding with Phil Foden the other day. I just think he's such an important player for England and one of the undroppables.
We are allowed to be worried, though, aren't we, Henry? I mean, it is allowed to be slightly concerned and fingers crossed that it doesn't go beyond a month.
I think of the player at the moment. I think of a player who wants to get back playing for West Ham United, who wants to be playing tonight, who's probably, along with Souček, been West Ham's best player this season. I think he's been outstanding. I mean, I'm sure, Shaun, I don't know if you vote for Footballer of the Year, and Declan Rice might not feature in your top 3, but he'd certainly feature in your top 10 for this season.
Listen, I mean, I'm a little bit old school about sports science, because I can remember players playing 70 games a season. Shaun, I know you think I'm a fanatic, but perhaps because of Trans-Europe Express, I have watched virtually every one of the internationals involving all of the big 5 or 6 teams in the last week. Some of them live and many of them recorded. And I must admit, some of them flicked through at high speed. The standard of the football was poor over the last week or so, partially because I think the players, A, are tired with the way the pandemic is making them work, and B, I think they're actually saving themselves in these games. In fact, England's first half performance, we'll come on to it later in the show, as I say, against Poland was the best football I saw in the whole week of staring relentlessly at international football. But I do think that we are in danger now, and I said I'm not always worried about this, of getting injuries in the run-up to the Euros because of the way the schedule is working. I know, as Henry says, the best medical advice going, sports scientists, men with clipboards, men with iPads, but we are seeing an awful lot of football, and the players, I think they're having to manage themselves.
So, yeah, I would agree. They probably are to a certain extent, but I wonder if people are actually thinking, oh, I've got to save myself for the Euros completely. I mean, there's a lot still riding on a lot of important games in Declan Rice's case. Could West Ham still break into the top 4 or qualify for Europe or whatever? I don't know whether you properly.
No, I actually meant they were saving themselves game by game to try and make sure they can do a bit for their club, do a bit in Europe, do a bit for the internationals.
Of course, there's a lot of games. You do have to manage yourself a bit, and all the physios want to manage themselves, and they have all those monitors on them, and they talk about them being in the red zone even when they don't feel that they're injured. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of mental side to it as well, where you're worried you might get injured too. So I can see all the pitfalls that they're thinking about, but at the minute I think it's a bit of a cliche. You just have to take it game to game.
Yeah, and given the importance of Declan Rice and the uncertainty surrounding Jordan Henderson, I imagine Gareth Southgate will be on the phone to Ellen Road saying you need to wrap Calvin Phillips up in some kind of bubble wrap. They used to do it in cotton wool, I understand, but I think bubble wrap's much more modern now, isn't it?